Hello everyone, welcome to my Mortal Shell review video. As always, there will be spoilers. If you're looking for a spoiler-free review, this is not it. I'm going to start with a short description of the game, then pros, neutrals, cons, the DLC, and stuff that I missed during my first playthrough. Oh, and of course, New Game Plus, which is also a thing in this game. So, without further ado, let's start with a short description. Mortal Shell is a soulslike where you play a being that can possess shells, which are just corpses that for some reason you are able to animate. The shells have names, they have backstories, they have lore, if you will. You yourself also appear to have some degree of lore, and the world itself, however, unlike other Souls-likes, this does not appear to really answer many questions. The world just is, and you exist in it, and that's pretty much it from what I could tell. That's definitely a con for me. It's right there in the description of the game. I don't like when media, books, movies, whatever, propose questions and then don't have answers to them. However, it could be just part of the things that I missed and don't know that I missed. So I'll chalk it up to that and give the game the benefit of the doubt. Now let's dive into the pros. I've played a few games that allowed you to possess other beings or objects or whatever. But Mortal Shell is unique in that regard, because in most of them, if you die while possessing whatever, then you just die. Here, things are a little different. If you get defeated while possessing a shell, you are simply forced out of the shell, and then you can keep fighting, or, repossess the shell. Then, if you die again after repossessing the shell, or outside the shell, then you just die, period. So, in that sense, it's innovative, it's interesting in my opinion. I felt it was a good mechanic, because it annoys me in games where I possess things that the things get destroyed or die, and then I suffer because of it. Oh well. There are also unique things about the shells themselves. Usually, you possess, I don't know, an enemy or something, like in, I think, Fear 3, and in the multiplayer, of course. And he's a nobody. It's just some body you're inhabiting. Here, each shell has a name. They have a profession or some kind of short descriptor, like Solomon the Scholar, I believe. And they have backstory. They had lives that you can uncover by upgrading the shells. You actually need to understand the shells in order to use them effectively. So if you just get, what's the name of the first guy? I don't remember the name of the first guy. Regardless, if you just get the shell and then don't learn anything about them, not even their name, that severely handicaps your ability to use the shell, because it restricts the skills that you can use. There are also these items called effigies. An effigy allows you to summon a shell and inhabit it wherever you are, at the cost of a lot of HP. But if you don't even know the name of the shell, that the bare minimum, just the name of the shell, you cannot use the effigy associated with the shell. That's just the way it is. So Mortal Shell also has a unique mechanic that, as far as I can remember, I had never seen before in my life. It's the harden mechanic. So harden will just turn you into an immobile statue when you use it. That is, if you hold down the button for too long. and it will absorb 1 hit. Unless it's like a crossbow bolt or something, I think those are just, it absorbs unlimited numbers of those. So it'll absorb all the damage from that 1 hit, and you know, you can harden at just about any point. If you want to jump, harden in midair, you will. I'm pretty sure you don't fall down. It's been a while since I played this actually, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't fall down. But here's a clip. You can see what happens. And you know, you harden and you stay as a statue. The enemy hits you, and then you continue your attack. So it's a good way to block enemies' attacks that are faster than yours and would otherwise hit you while you're trying to attack yourself. However, despite this sounding very similar to a parry, it is not the parry mechanic. I actually thought it was for some time, not too long. I think like an hour or something, maybe 2. But it is not the parry mechanic. Now, the parry mechanic is also unique. You parry with this seal you get from a giant crow prisoner thing. I think the game just calls him the old prisoner. And if you have enough resolve, shown by a yellow bar, as you can see here, if you have enough resolve, you can use a powerful counterattack. Now, there are actually multiple counterattacks you can use. The first one just heals you for a bunch of HP. It's decent, you know. At least I thought it was. Let me think. There's one that I think blows them up, and the other one freezes or something. I'm honestly not sure anymore. During this counterattack, you are invincible. So, you know, I'm not saying that's unique, but it's certainly a plus in my opinion. There's also this is actually one of the things that I missed, but I'm going to mention right away. The tutorial boss is not actually supposed to make you lose. He is beatable, and there's even an achievement for doing it in your first playthrough, of course. So I would have to start a new game to get the achievement now. So it's common that some bosses just make you lose, especially tutorial bosses, and it's something that annoys me to no end. Fortunately, Mortal Shell is not one of those. You can win or lose. The game progresses either way, but you can win is the takeaway from here. So, neutral. So you have to use items to understand what they do. On the one hand, you know, it's more realistic. You don't immediately understand what you're dealing with. On the other hand, if you're like me and you accidentally eat a poisonous mushroom, you may find yourself on the edge of death. Or past the edge, depending on how lucky you get. Oh, and of course the effigies, which I mentioned before, cut down your HP by a lot. And so, when I used one for the first time, I found myself with just basically no HP, and as far as I knew, about to go up against a boss. Turns out it wasn't a boss, just a tough enemy. So that was not fun. So now, the neutral singular out of the way, we get to the cons of the game. So as I mentioned, the shells have backstory, and you know, I thought it was pretty neat that you needed to unlock their abilities by finding out more about them. Oh, the abilities I forgot to mention require resolve, which you gain by attacking. I mean, I think that's fairly standard for for a lot of games. Sorry, as I was saying, so the shell's backstory is not unlocked by exploring and finding stuff. but you just go to Sester Genessa and you spend some tar, which is one of this game's currency. The other one is glimpses, which just let you unlock abilities. So you pay tar and glimpses and you unlock abilities. That's it. So to me this is a big missed opportunity. They could have areas where the shells live. There's only, what, half dozen of them? So you could have gone out, explored the world. So I thought that was a pretty big missed opportunity. There are some items that you interact with, and they just take you somewhere else, somewhere completely different. No indication, no warning. Like there are books that you interact with to defeat this guy called Hadern. I think that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. I'll just pronounce it Hadern. And the book says something like, swear to the oath. And honestly, I don't even remember what it says. No, recite, that's it, I think. There's a clip you can watch right here, so just, yeah. It's whatever it says right there. And so I thought, okay, let's see what happens when I read from this book. Turns out it takes me to a boss fight. And so, that can kind of screw you over if you don't know what you're doing, which I didn't. There's also no explanation of how to change shells, which, kind of a big deal in a game where the whole point is to switch up shells as you desire. At least, in my opinion, that seems like a pretty big deal. I had to look that up online because I had no idea what the hell, how the hell I was supposed to change shells. Yeah, that's another thing. Next, I initially thought there was no fast travel and no shortcuts, which seemed weird. However, there is indeed a fast travel. It's via a mask. It's a golden mask that you get from, well, she looks like Sister Genessa, but in red. Very weird. It's actually, she's actually under the stairs, from where I used the first effigy, or the effigy for the first time. And in New Game Plus, I unlocked the mask. Much better. So, what else? Ah, right. No jump button. I know, you've heard me rant about jump buttons a lot. Actually, like 2 or 3 times maybe. Regardless, no jump button, and it is incredibly annoying because some areas have rocks that are basically about the height of your souls, and you can't walk over them, and they just stick you in place like they're a wall or something. Just give players a jump button. It's not that difficult. It won't create any horrible accidents. It won't swallow up the earth with a black hole if a player goes out of bounds or whatever. Just give people a jump button. That's it. It will prevent issues like this from being a thing. Alternatively, just give them a proper walking animation so that when your character lifts up his leg, his foot, over the terrain, you will actually walk on it instead of having an invisible wall. So yeah, no jump button. It's ridiculous for games. I have no idea why they keep removing jump buttons. I know there are excuses, which is that it makes map design easier, but that's not a good excuse in my opinion. There's also an issue with forced camera angles. Full disclosure, I hate games that take control of the camera at any point, which is actually why I avoid isometric games like The Plague, because I want to control my camera. I want to see what I want and look at things the way I want. I don't want something to be in plain view of my character but hidden out of sight from me, because the game decides, no, your camera doesn't actually show you that, or the camera won't actually show you that. So, you know, this is a big secret, even though your character should be able to see it right away. So yeah, that annoys me a lot. There are forced camera angles during transitions, like when you crawl into tunnels or near the entrances and exits of some buildings, as you can see here. So the issue here is that the game keeps taking your input for the camera motion. So if you're like me and you try to move the camera to see when you can actually move it, what happens is that after the camera once the camera is freed and returned to your control, it will take in all the input that you put into it. So you could, for instance, crawl out of a hole, be facing, I don't know, 2-3 enemies, and then the camera immediately turns 180 degrees and shows you the hole again because you were moving the camera during the transition. So, you know, that's obviously quite annoying. There's also an issue with enemy pop-in that, as far as I know, at the time this is being recorded, has not been fixed. So enemies just appear. Sometimes you can actually touch their hitboxes before they spawn, which I can't even understand how you can program something like that. So, you know, that's just bizarre to me. And of course, I think it might be related to the pop-in issue. When enemies are out of sight, they can actually cheat. So, in particular, the issue is with the crossbowmen. They don't actually need to reload if you can't see them. They will just shoot at you twice in quick succession, even though it was too soon. I'm not sure if they despawn and then respawn or whatever is going on. But the point is, the enemies out of sight cheat, and that's not just annoying, that is borderline game breaking, in my opinion. So, moving on. The game is too short. I finished it in 10 hours, kinda. I think a little over 10. Even though I died many times, and of course got lost, as usual. So, of course, I didn't fully unlock the shells and whatnot, but I think after playing through the entire game, I came close to unlocking maybe one shell. So it feels like the game is also a bit grindy, which is another con for me. The playable area is also too small. There's like 4 main areas, I think. It's the eternal whatever. This thing that you can see here with the obsidian blocks. There's also an ice area, a fire area, and the catacombs. Oh, the catacombs are the ice area, I think. The forest, that's it. So there's this, fire, ice, forest. That's it, that's the game. In terms of map, of course. Now, there is another con that I wish I'd known about before purchasing the game, only found out later. This is not something that affects the quality of the game, but it is an issue for me, which is that this game was an exclusive on EGS for a year. I hate it when developers do that. If the game is good, it will sell. And, you know, that's just not... That's not something I wanted to support unwittingly. Or wittingly. So, oh, wait, I made a mistake before, so the fast travel is not actually unlocked at the red Sister Janessa lookalike that I mentioned. It's with Sister Janessa herself, but you need a fully upgraded shell, and it costs 30 glimpses, which I think I mentioned before. So yeah, sorry, that was the thing that I missed. One of the things. So moving on to the DLC. DLC is called the Virtuous Cycle. It's a roguelike, I think that's what they call it. So you go in, you kill stuff, you get upgrades, eventually you lose, you get kicked out, GG. At least I think that's how it works. I actually played through it for quite a while and did not get defeated, so I'm not actually sure what happens when you get defeated. That's not to say that I'm amazing at this game, but it's just, to be honest, I just have no idea what happens. I actually had to quit the game because I had other stuff to do and hoped that it would save at some point, and it doesn't. So, you know, keep that in mind. So it's the same map, but the gameplay and the fights are the same, but overall it's too different to just be considered an expansion. In my opinion, it should be a different game unto itself, or it is a different game unto itself. And so I can't really judge the DLC because I didn't fully play through it. So the only thing I can say is that it's very different from the base game. So stuff that I missed, I already mentioned the fast travel. I missed the red Sister Janessa under the stairs that I mentioned. I missed the fact that the tutorial boss is actually beatable. I think those are the things that I missed and realized later on that I missed, because I went for New Game Plus. Regarding New Game Plus, there are some different mechanics. That's also something I missed, obviously, because I didn't play through New Game Plus. For instance, the harden mechanic does not block 100% of the damage. I'm not sure what the damage reduction percentage is, but it's not 100%. I think enemies also hit you harder. I'm not sure about that. And I'm pretty sure they drop more tar when you defeat them. I haven't finished my New Game Plus playthrough yet. That's what's there in save slot 1. Oh, right, never mind, I forgot that this... Never mind. Yeah, I'm actually recording this on the game's main menu, and I can see continue save slot 1, as you can see here, so just never mind that. Moving on. So yeah, New Game Plus, I'm pretty sure enemies hit harder. The harden mechanic doesn't block the damage completely, and pretty sure they drop more tar. So, to summarize, Mortal Shell innovates some aspects of Souls-like combat with the harden mechanic. The shell mechanic and death mechanics are also different from what you'd expect from a game where you possess things. The parry allowing for different attacks is fairly unique, I think. You don't see that all the time. In neutrals, we have that you have to use items to know what they do, which can be good or bad. Some missed opportunities. The shell's backstory is unlocked by spending tar, not by exploring. No explanation of key mechanics like how to change shells. No jump button. Some forced camera angles. Some severe pop-in. And of course the game is too short and the map too small. Overall, I would say that Mortal Shell is a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because it doesn't really explain, as I mentioned, the key mechanics, like how to switch shells. The severe enemy pop-in that remains unfixed to this day being when I'm recording this, might be fixed by the time the video comes out, I don't know. The fact that the fast travel is hidden behind something that you are unlikely to achieve if you're like me and just want to try out all the shells. But on the other hand, you know, it has good points, like the unique mechanics, as I mentioned. So I would say 7.5 is a good score. If they fixed the pop-in, I would say that's an 8 out of 10. And of course, with more explanations and a longer game, maybe a 9 out of 10. I don't think it's possible for the game to achieve a perfect 10 out of 10. So I don't think it's possible for the game to achieve a perfect 10 out of 10. because some things are just the way the game itself works. Some issues that I have are just the way the game itself works, and those can't really be fixed without just changing the game. So, for instance, I mentioned that there's no indication of what you do when you interact with those books, for instance, which I think was kind of the point. But in my opinion, that's just nonsensical. I honestly didn't like that at all. And of course, the fast travel being locked behind such a specific thing like fully upgrading a shell and then spending 30 glimpses to get the mask is ridiculous in my opinion. So yeah, at best, I would say this game is a 9 out of 10, or could be a 9 out of 10. But as it stands, 7.5 out of 10, and that would be my final score. So that was my Mortal Shell review. I hope you enjoyed. Next up is Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. It's coming out shortly after this. Or maybe it has come out actually. Maybe it has already come out. I'm not sure. My video editor has been considerably busy. Well, regardless, I hope you enjoyed my review. If you enjoy Souls-likes and want a nice experience with a Souls-like, I would definitely recommend Mortal Shell to you. But you should probably get it on sale because, again, very short. And of course, if you enjoy the roguelike aspect of the DLC, get it. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know, it's to each their own. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time.